I'm not just gonna stand here and wait. I wanna just decide what is to be my fate. All by myself, I'm not just gonna stay here and wait.
Good morning, everybody. This is pre-recorded Jim for the first time on this nightly newscast. I am pre-recording as storms are coming through the area, and I don't want a repeat of last week when I was in the middle of putting stories together for the newscast, and I had announced a change of the time in the newscast when our power went out for several hours, and I completely missed the newscast. So please bear with us. This is our only time for now where we'll be pre-recording the actual newscast. It is a mess outside. We've already had one band come through, and poor Nicholas was out there in the rain again. The rest of the cats, I mean, there's about 10 or 11 out there, the ferals. They know to take shelter. Nicholas does not. So I have purchased a doghouse for the back porch to serve as a shelter for him. That'll be coming in on Monday, I believe. I will be posting pictures of the hilarious process of me trying to put something together. That's why my current new computer chair is in pieces behind me, as I haven't gotten up the nerve yet to actually go back there and put the damn thing together. I'll probably do that tonight, especially if power goes out. Now I'm committing to it. Anywho, we're going to get started with this newscast. It's only about 14 and a half minutes. A little bit, well, it's about normal for us. There are big stories, including who won the GoFundMe last night. It wasn't me for once. It wasn't me. Ha! So your evil plans didn't work. Let's see what else. We had changes to the Canton, the crowd in Canton for the Karen Reed case, which is bringing about some concern from regulars there. We've got Floyd Wallace destroying his new car, or trying to destroy his new car. We've got Carolina in Fort Worth driving and returning to auditing, despite her former lawyer claiming she had brain damage. And, of course, we've got... what do we have? What's the last one? Well, your guess is as good as mine as I hit play. And I'll see you in about 14 minutes. DeCastro wins Friday GoFundMe crown. Jose Chile DeCastro took the GoFundMe crown for Friday with a single donation of $100 that came through on his legal aid fund donation fund Help People Fund before another unusual broadcast by Michael Eline on DeCastro's channel. It was the normal story on Friday, the same one that we've seen play out on most Sunday nights. Eline did a forgettable live stream on DeCastro's channel about a subject no one seems to care about, but Eline presented it in YouTube's new vertical format, and his lawyer reaction to cops so bad police refused to disclose his record saw only a couple of hundred people actually attend. It has 254 likes and 24 whole comments in the 11 hours since it ended, to 52,447 views as of press time. Over 2,000 of them were added since we started checking early on Saturday morning. As stated, it seems to be the artificial addition of viewers from YouTube's attempt to promote vertical streaming. Vertical streaming is essentially streaming from a phone where the video is in the same format as YouTube Shorts, which fills the stream on the phone but leaves huge black bars on anything with a wide screen. All of the videos on DeCastro and Eline's individual channels that use the vertical streaming format have extremely inflated viewing numbers compared to the traditionally formatted videos. Since they're essentially shorts viewers being presented the streams, they tend to stay long enough to register a view, but don't stick around long enough to comment or like, and getting them to donate is completely out of the question. The viewing numbers always rise after the broadcast ends and the video hits the vertical algorithm. Of course, non-participating viewers who show up after the broadcast is over in huge numbers with an established cutoff point, usually 12 hours after the end, are also signs that someone has purchased viewers. But we honestly don't have proof of that at this time, as the dramatic shifts only happen on the vertical format live streams and nothing else on Eline or DeCastro's individual channels. Plus, we have our doubts about Eline's competency. While he's a lawyer, he has never shown that he was bright enough or had the funds to purchase viewers. He has, however, shown that when someone points out a trend to him that will bring in monster numbers by just streaming in the vertical format, he'll use that to get those monster numbers. That said, as noted, the viewers they brought in for the format didn't stick around and didn't donate. DeCastro's win for the day came from a $100 donation that was made before the broadcast to a fund that was not promoted on the live stream. It gave the YouTuber a rare win and a much-needed boost to his recent streak of losses for the 3 observed official GoFundMe campaigns he runs. If you'd like to become another of the wonderful readers who like to torture me and keep me writing this wretched column every morning, we do have a GoFundMe of our own located in the stream below. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. Carolina and Fort Worth returns to live streaming. Carolina and Fort Worth Rodriguez removed the sling she was supposed to be wearing as part of her recovery from injuries sustained in a police incident Sunday morning and drove herself to do cop watching Friday night, live streaming on her channel. Rodriguez live streamed from Fort Worth Friday night with the Fort Worth police SUV visible in her rear window during the stream. She kept pointing to the SUV and reminding her viewers that a police officer was inside the vehicle, but wasn't clear as if she had any interaction with the officer or the vehicle. She explained that she would be appearing on Leroy the Truth and Christopher Denver Metro Audit's Cordova's channels in a simulcast on Saturday afternoon to go over her story and her pending legal maneuvering against the city of Fort Worth. The YouTuber claimed that Cordova and Leroy the Truth were brilliant legal minds and would explain everything better than she could. They would go through all of the ways that Fort Worth officer Matthew Kruger violated her rights during the incident that caused her injuries and what legal options she has in suing him and demanding that he be removed from the force. Addressing the C.J. Grisham controversy, where she dismissed Grisham after he acted as a spokesperson for her during the time she was incarcerated, she claimed it was a mix-up between Grisham and her husband. Grisham is representing her in another matter and assumed that he would represent her in this case. Her husband, however, went ahead and hired a family friend who does civil law while she was in the hospital without informing her or Grisham. She explained Grisham is the best for criminal cases, but she had to dismiss him since her husband hired the other attorney, then went into a lengthy promo about Grisham's services and his abilities. Updating her injuries, Rodriguez has apparently taken off the sling that she was required to wear while her shoulder and elbow were healing from injuries sustained in Sunday's incident. She apparently is driving one-armed in violation of her doctor's instructions as she returned to live streaming. She thanked her fans as she finished the live stream and promised that she would be having discussions with Cordova and Leroy the Truth to come up with a strategy to capitalize on her injuries and attempt to transform some people that back the blue into seeing the truth about police corruption. Wallace damages car in rainstorm. Texas-based YouTuber Floyd Wallace streamed for 90 minutes Friday night with a stream of consciousness live stream that covered his recent traffic accident, his thoughts on prostitution, the campaign to recoup costs of a hospital visit, and a graphic detail of how he lost his virginity. Starting with the traffic incident, Wallace claimed that he almost died in an incident involving his newly purchased 2012 Chevrolet Impala. Wallace said that he was driving it on a highway at a high rate of speed with no other cars around during a rainstorm when he hydroplaned and lost control of the vehicle. He was unclear on the actual details of the incident, but claimed that his vehicle was extensively damaged after he lost control of it. The primary damage he listed was the passenger side headlight that he described as falling off the vehicle. Wallace said he would soon be taking the car for an inspection that would cost $98, with no estimate of how much it would cost to get the car back in running shape. He pondered using duct tape to reattach the headlight before switching subjects. The YouTuber then stated that he was horny and complained bitterly that he only had sex with 2 American women since returning from his extended sex tour of South America. He again complained that American women would have nothing to do with him, unlike women in other countries, and even fat women turned his advances down. When his chat questioned if the women he had sex with since returning to America were prostitutes, Wallace refused to answer, but endorsed the idea of paying to play if he was horny enough and the date wasn't working out. Wallace said that such a stipulation was how he lost his virginity when he was 21 years old. He had been told that it would happen eventually, and he got frustrated with waiting. He eventually offered a 30-year-old woman $120 for sex and described it as an awful experience that lasted 10 minutes, as the woman refused to actively participate in the act and Wallace was apparently left to figure out what to do on his own. He was then asked by a person via Super Chat to impregnate the person's wife. He refused, as it was morally wrong to have intercourse with a married woman, even if their husband was into it. Despite repeated Super Chats begging him to do so, Wallace declined the offer. Wallace was unsuccessful in raising the remaining $30 he needed for a hospital bill from the Dominican Republic last month. Wallace had spent the entire live streaming fundraising for the goal, but was unsuccessful in meeting his goals at the end of the stream. The YouTuber said he expects to return to Colombia for his next sex tour in September or October of this year. Reed deliberations bring changes to Canton crowds. Friday's news that the jury was possibly hung in the Karen Reed murder trial was overshadowed by changes to the makeup of crowds and attendance outside of the courtroom as the deliberations continue. News came around noon on Friday that the jury was hopelessly deadlocked and that they wanted to end deliberations. Judge Beverly Canone brought the prosecution and defense in to discuss the note from the jury before the lunch break. The defense team argued that the jury had enough time, roughly 18 hours, to determine that they could not come to a conclusion and asked for the case to be declared a hung jury. The prosecution argued that there was not enough time to even review the evidence, let alone have time to end the deadlock. Judge Canone heard both sides, then sided with the prosecution, stating that the jury had only been deliberating for 3 days, most of which were shortened for various reasons. She seemed to agree that there simply wasn't enough time to review the evidence or deliver a verdict, so she brought the jurors in and instructed them to continue their deliberations after lunch. The jury deliberated until 4:15 p.m. without a verdict. Overshadowing the jury was the changes in those present outside of the courthouse each day. Crowds had gathered primarily in support of Reed, led by Reed's current social media team. Former head of social media for Reed, Aidan Turtleboy Kearney, who lost his position after being indicted for multiple charges of felony witness intimidation, claimed that at least 1,000 people had gathered each day during the deliberations. The makeup of the crowd of newcomers and changes to Reed's security team has troubled longtime supporters. YouTuber Tom CPU, who has been supporting both Reed and Kearney during their ongoing legal battles, often being the only fan on scene for their preliminary court hearings, has expressed his frustration with the mob scene during the deliberations. Tom CPU had previously claimed to be a security person for Reed and took his role seriously, stating multiple times that he was there to protect her. At midweek, he attempted to live stream as he walked into the buffer zone around the building with her security team, only to be stopped by a state trooper who told him that he could not enter as he was not a registered member of that security team. The YouTuber had an extreme reaction to the trooper's command and was offended that he had to stand with the rest of the press in an area outside of the courthouse. The insult stung Tom CPU, as he had previously been a personal guest of the Reed family and was allowed to sit with them for one day of the hearings in the trial. Tom CPU's father died later the same day, and our condolences go out to him and his family during this time. Also new on Friday was the presence of counter-protesters. Turtle Boy nemesis Kate Peter and Turtle Boy's ex-girlfriend Lindsay Gaetini led a group of counter-protesters through the crowd of Karen Reed supporters during the lunch break. The group was heavily featured in interviews by press during the lunch break, as it was the first sign of active counter-protesters carrying signs and chanting at the gathering. While their presence did not disrupt the tailgating experience for those assembled to support Reed, it showed that there were indeed those who thought Reed were guilty of her charges. Turtle Boy Kearney would later release a statement that the vast majority of the protesters used to either work for him or were part of the Free Karen Reed movement at one point. He implied that they were there more to protest against him than in support of their belief that Reed was guilty. Deliberations in the case resume on Monday. Flashback, June 29th, 2023. DeCastro rages against Supreme Court. Again. After taking a 24-hour break due to exhaustion, Jose Chili DeCastro returned to live streaming Wednesday night with a new discussion of the Supreme Court and the case of James King, who was mistakenly beaten and arrested by members of an FBI task force after being mistaken for a suspect in another case. King sued two members of the task force, with his lawsuit ending up at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court unanimously ruled that a lower court was correct in its dismissal of part of King's lawsuit when it found that the officers involved were entitled to qualified immunity and that King failed to allege any viable tort claims. King is asking the Supreme Court to reconsider its decision. DeCastro launched into his standard attacks on the Supreme Court, calling to amend the Constitution to change the role of a Supreme Court justice from one that is appointed for life to one that is elected and serves 10-year terms. Changing focus, the homeless YouTuber bragged to his 200 live viewers out of his 183,000 subscribers that his channel is getting 50,000 new subscribers per month, as his message was resonating with more and more people every day. He recalled nightmares he had for years after he took a diversion program and admitted guilt for arrest for GHB distribution in the early 2000s, and said that even when you are found innocent, the police can prosecute you at any time for charges that you may have thought were dropped. DeCastro is due later in California Superior Court for a status update hearing in his civil lawsuit against Kate Peter, Daniel Clement, Blue Bacon, and Team Skeptic. Well, there you have it, folks. That's our news for today. The fifth story was Flashback. I don't know how I forgot that one. A couple of announcements before we go any further. Just to note that we are recording. I'm about to record tomorrow's week in review. It'll go live at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. We will also be featuring at least one special on the 4th of July. I'm intending to take the 4th of July off for live broadcasting, but we will have at least one special during the day, and that's the best of Chili DeCastro, featuring all the Chili DeCastro stories that we featured, including flashbacks. I think we'll give you a couple hours worth of content at least for the day, if you're not doing anything for the holiday. I plan to be watching movies most of the day, but just taking the day for a little bit of rest time since the kids won't be coming over. We will catch up on Friday with a double-sized newscast since there won't be one Thursday night. Other than that, hope everyone's doing okay. I may or may not be around in chat while this is live. Right now, things are getting bad again out there. So we're going to go to closing credits, and then we have another end credit scene if anyone wants to stick around for that. Thank you again for tuning in, and remember, best of tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. where it counts, 7 a.m. Mountain Time, and 6 a.m. Pacific. Tomorrow night we'll be having this newscast at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. where it counts, 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time, and 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Then tomorrow night, the panel show that was scheduled for tonight will happen at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. where it counts, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific. Hope to see you there, and we should be live for that one. Otherwise, I'm just going to make Pope do it. I'll have Pope and Pants take over the show without me. With that, again, I'm out of here. I hope everyone's having a happy and safe weekend, and I will hopefully talk to you live tomorrow. Now, where's that closing? See, I even screw up when it's recorded. Such is life. Here we go.